got a 3-part video today and they're all interrelated. You're looking at my 2020 Shelby GT500 carbon fiber track pack. I take this car to the track. This car comes with the Ford Performance adjustable camber plates installed from the factory. The track alignment specs for this car are -2.25. That's for the carbon fiber track pack. The base model is -2.2. Incidentally, these are the limits of the factory plates. I went in there the first time and set the track alignment specs, -2.25. Talking with a buddy of mine who tracks his car and looking at my tire wear patterns, I needed more negative camber. Went back to my track alignment shop and they tried moving over the top center pin there, and that's it. They are maxed out. So I think the track alignment specs that Ford has in these cars are simply a limitation that's set in the owner's manual there at -2.25. That's it. That's all these plates will give you, and the cars can actually use more when you do a lot of tracking. So I was looking for -3 or better negative camber. That led me to camber bolts, which led me to wheel spacers, which led me to longer wheel studs. So we're gonna take a look at all 3 of those. Here we go. Thanks for watching. All right, we're gonna start off by looking at, I've got my camera mount in there. I'm going to the track tomorrow, but right here, looking at the top of the strut, as you can see, it's pretty far inward. That's it. That is the physical limit of the Ford Performance plates. You can actually go aftermarket plates. That might give you more alignment, negative camber wise, but you're still limited by the opening here. So you might get to a point where you have to elongate or, make that hole bigger to give your strut more room to move inward. But -3 is what I wanted. Camber bolts, that was another solution. I put those on before my last COTA track weekend and got -3.1, kind of put it right in the middle of the camber bolt setting. We'll get the car up here and take a look at what the camber bolts are and what hole they go in. But before I do that, you're looking at actually a 315 front tire here. The Hoosiers that I ran at COTA are about as wide as the 315, so this was, my initial test was putting the Sport Cup 2 315s on there. But as you do more and more negative camber, you're sinking the top of the wheel and the tire in towards the engine, if you will, and it gives more of a sunken look on the top of the fender. Moving the wheel out does a couple things. One, it helps with appearance. But number 2, it gives more space because as you do a camber bolt, the top of the wheel and tire bend in kind of knock-kneed style towards the strut, and that space is reduced. And then if you put something wide like a 315 up here or a Hoosier 305, which is as wide as a 315 Sport Cup 2, you're gonna actually end up rubbing. So what the heck are camber bolts? These are lobed or cammed bolts that are used in the front suspension to create more or less camber. You can use them by themselves or you can use them with camber plates to go beyond what the camber plates will give you. You can see the install instructions here. You replace the top bolt in the strut to spindle assembly with a lobed bolt. It allows you to rotate this lobe in or out to create more or less negative camber. You loosen that bottom bolt and replace the top bolt with the cammed camber bolt. And you're going to need a breaker bar because those suckers are really in there. Got the camber tool. This isn't good for setting camber, but it's good for changes. So right now I've got it zeroed out on 0. You do that with a little adjustment knob down here, and got the caliper out of the way there with the caliper flexing mod. And I'm going to take out the top bolt, loosen the bottom bolt, put the lobe in the top bolt there, the cam bolt, and tweak it. I'm going to match what I did on the other side and just double check it with the camber adjustment. Took the nut off, spun it around, put it on backwards, and then used a hammer to pound it out. Take some good whacking to get it to come out the other side, as you can see. And then I will take this off and take the nut out, or take the bolt out. I got the driver's side done. We're gonna take a look at what I did. I just got these little homemade spacers here and just holding on the rotor. But I've got this camber tool, and I'll probably take this in for a track alignment just to confirm, because this isn't, perfectly accurate, but take it in for an alignment before I go for my next track day. But I got the caliper flexing caliper mod here, so I got studs with extenders. I can slide the caliper out of the way. That is the adjustable camber bolt in the top slot there. You can see the tab or the elbow there is towards the engine side, away from the wheel. That's for more negative camber up top there. The nuts on the other side there. Inside that washer is a little tab. Show you on the one I haven't done yet. Right there, right by my thumb. If you can see that, you gotta make sure that's down seated inside the hole. You loosen up the bottom one right there, this guy right here, and then pivot the top end to get that into place. Then you basically rotate the nut, which rotates the cam lobe inside the hub there hole, and that'll pull the top of the hub in or out, or push it in, push it out for more or less camber. When you go to secure these, this is 125 foot-pounds. This guy down here is 184. Looks like I added a little bit more than one more negative degree of camber. Now, I didn't do the full negative camber travel. I've got my plates maxed out up top, and if you can see right there, the plus mark is on the bottom. I could have rotated that all the way towards the engine side for even more, but I'm a little worried about clearance of wide tires against the top of the strut there. Take a look at the camber bolts again. This is after a few track days now, and I got my marks there. So the passenger side front there did not move. And on the driver's side, we've got a second mark over there to the right that you're looking at, and that did not move as well. So all is well with the camber bolts. They're giving me what I wanted of 3.1 negative camber. The tire wear looks much better. This tire is wet because I washed the car. But the camber bolts are solving my problem, and I've got a good gap up there with my front spacers and extra long wheel studs. These cars have quite a bit of inset to the front wheels that gets exacerbated by a lot of negative camber like I've got on the track alignment. So when you look down the side here, it's easier to see looking down the car. The top of the wheel or tire is inset quite a bit. So, if you want to solve that problem, or if you want to run much wider front tires, this will be the solution. As you can see here, I'm running camber bolts. They give you more negative camber than what the plates alone will give you. That bolt is different than the one below. A problem that creates is the tire gets real close to the strut, and I'm planning to run wider tires at the track. So to create more of a gap there at the top of the strut, as well as fix the inset that I just showed you with these wheels from the factory that gets exacerbated by negative camber, I want to add wheel spacers. Now the problem with wheel spacers is you need longer studs. All right, as you can see back in here, these are 3/4 inch wheel spacers. Got those from CJ Pony Parts. The problem once you go that wide is the existing wheel studs no longer function. All right, a moment to talk about the wheel studs. Doing the math, I wanted 3/4 inch spacers. I think the front carbon fiber track pack wheel studs, the OEM studs, are 3 1/8 or 3 1/4, something like that. 3 1/8, I think, is what they are. And I needed 4-inch wheel studs or something a little over 100, 103 millimeters. These are 14 millimeter wheel studs, M14 by I think it was 1.5 thread pitch, and I needed 4-inch or 103 or so millimeters. The short answer is I called all over the US, even searched over in Europe, they don't exist. Contacted a rep at ARP, he said they could custom make some wheel studs for me and it would take quite a few months. And I needed this set up good to go before I went to my COTA weekend here about a month or so ago. So this led me to buying some non-M14. So, I figured as long as I'm changing out the wheel studs, I don't need to keep the lug nuts the same. I can go to any pitch as long as it goes through the wheel hub itself and through the rotor. Here is a front wheel stud, OEM wheel stud for the carbon fiber track back, which is longer than the base, by the way. Takeaway on this is the shoulder here, which I'm touching with my finger, that serrated part is 0.625 inch width or diameter. All right, let's talk about the studs that I went with and their differences. The OEM studs on the carbon fiber track pack are 0.625 across here, across the shoulder. 0.625 of an inch, and measuring them, they are 3 1/8 underneath the head there, 3 1/8 inches. These aftermarket ones that I got are also 6.25, that's why I got these, and they are 4 inches underneath the head there. Here's the problem. So, a couple problems. The shoulder, as I think it's called, is a lot shorter on this one. This obviously goes through the hub. That's 0.625, that's good to go. But the brake caliper is got a slightly smaller hole, and that does not go through the brake caliper. Let's see, so over here, the brake caliper, as you can see, these holes are a little bit smaller, and that is, I could probably pound that through. It actually looks really close, but I'm not interested in that, so I'll probably just, you got a couple options, I guess. You could drill out those holes slightly larger, or you could machine down this with the grinder. I think I'm gonna go towards machining this down, just run it on my grinder a little bit just to get a little more clearance on there. And then the other issue is, if you can see, this head here has a flat spot that goes towards the center, or towards the bearing, so to speak. This is a much larger head, does not have that flat spot, so I'm gonna have to do some grinding on that as well. I still think they're gonna work well. This was really my only option, but I think they're gonna work well. I took the studs over to my workshop and used my benchtop grinder to remove some metal. So this one in the middle here is unmodified. You can see how long that shoulder is there. I used my grinder to remove metal down on that lower part of the shoulder. And that now clears the brake caliper. I could have drilled out those holes there, but I didn't want to have to pull all that through the hub as well. That long shoulder. So remove that area. I also grinded the top there flat on one side that goes towards the center, and then remove some of the thickness. You can see how hot it was when I was grinding. So remove some of the thickness there. But so this is the original bolt now closest to us. This is the modified one in the middle, and this is one that I haven't done yet up here. So here we go on the mod. Step one, get the car up in the air. And number two is remove the wheels. That's a 13/16 socket. Will get your lug nuts off there on the front. Up next is to remove the caliper. I've got a caliper flexing mod here. That's gonna be a different video, but I've got nuts there with studs that are reusable. If you haven't done that mod, these are one-time use bolts. I'm gonna take my caliper, I'm gonna hang it off the spring with a wire hanger to keep it out of my working area, and then remove the rotor. Got the caliper hanging out of the way, got the rotor off. Next up is take a heavy hammer or sledgehammer and knock back the studs. And it's actually not that hard to do. You just pound them a few times and they pop out the backside. Use that little sledgehammer there and gave each one of these a handful of wax, and they are now all loose. Next up, I am going to use a trim tool to pop out this speed sensor wire for the ABS, and just so I'm not damaging that there, just to get it out of the way. And there's these 4 bolts back here that hold the hub in. Take those out. Got all 4 of these loosened. These are 18 millimeter, by the way. And they're on there pretty good, so you're gonna need some muscle or breaker bar. But now the hub just lifts out. There we go, and now you can pull the lugs, or the wheel studs, out from the backside. So once you have the hub off, all the studs just come out through the backside. You'll probably have to rotate it a bit to get access to an opening where you can pull them out. There they all are out. I'm gonna clean up the surface, both on this side as well as the spindle, and then it's time to put the new studs in and reinstall the hub. Got the new studs pressed in from the back, just sitting there, not pulled all the way through yet. But as you go to reinstall the hub, take note that the 2 bolt holes on the back side, or towards the aft of the car, are closer together than the ones on the front. So that's gonna go in like this. Also of note, these 18 millimeter bolts here that hold your hub in are considered one-time use bolts. Got all 4 of these bolts tightened, 85 foot-pounds of torque in a cross pattern when you tighten them. And I was able to get my digital torque wrench on there. You'll have to use some extensions a little bit, or just the socket itself on the wrench. But that's all set to push your speed sensor back in, the holder bracket there. I had my caliper just sitting on the studs there versus hanging from the hanger up here, but I'll move it back to the hanger when I go to do the install the rotor. And now it's time to pull the studs through. This is the thread pulling tool, and it's that's got a bearing on that side, as you can see, conical shaped. Your open stud, or open lug nut, will fit down inside there and pull the stud through with your impact wrench. This guy was $39 at O'Reilly's, and this was this open-ended lug nut was maybe $5, $6, something like that. But because that space there doesn't have any threads on it, I'm just gonna slip a spacer over it, basically a large nut. Put this guy on top of the nut spacer, thread this on, and I'm gonna use my impact to pull. I wanna pull this flush. Also, you know, remember that I've got that flat area. You want that to be basically even. Let's see if I can show it here, right there. So yeah, when I pull it down, I don't want that, you know, angled down one way or the other, grinding against the metal there. So it's got a good gap there on both sides. Got one pulled in already. This is a 22 millimeter lug nut, by the way. But what I was gonna show here is when you put it on, thread it down by hand so that you can get this nice and even right there, that little cut head. So like I said, it's not grinding one way or the other. If you just impact it on there, it's gonna twist that bolt or the stud there. So keep it just snug there before you put the impact on it. Success! So I've got all the 5 pulled through on the driver's side, no binding, all good. You can see the clearance. Let's see if I can get down in there. Right there. There's clearance on all of those. Where I did use the grinder to make a flat side. All good. Got the rotor mounted again and the caliper put back in place, tightened down, secured. We're going to take a look at these studs now and see how much length is outside of the rotor hat there. So It looks like about 3 1/4 inches past, you know, where the wheels mount up there against the rotor hat. So these lug nuts are 9/16 of an inch. I pushed the wheel in place and then measured how much thread was sticking out with those 4-inch wheel studs and came up with these, and they work like a champ. So I still have the OEM 14mm studs in the back with those lug nuts, and I've got the aftermarket 9/16 studs in the front. I just have to remember when I'm taking wheels and tires off, swapping them around, that I've got different size lug nuts front to back, so swap out the socket. It's worth noting that CJ Pony Parts had these wheel spacers listed 65 through 73 as well as 94 through 21. I went back there to grab some screenshots and now it just has 65 through 73, but they work just fine for the newer cars. Got all the studs pulled through. It spins. No binding, good clearance. All is good. Now the spacer, this is a 3/4 inch spacer from CJ Pony Parts. It's a snug fit, but it does go on. Of course, trying to do this one-handed is a challenge. There we go. And this is a hub-centric spacer, so all the load is on the center hub and not the lugs. But that's how it's gonna look. Of course, I still gotta get the rotor on, but it works. All back together. A little tip here is I cut a 3/4 inch PVC pipe, and I use that with an open lug, or you can use it with your regular lug for the regular size studs to hold the rotor in place while you're putting the caliper back on. I've got these, this is caliper flex and stainless. I've resecured those to 100 foot-pounds. And again, the OEM bolts are one-time use on those. And then don't forget to get your hanger off of the spring. Got the 3/4 inch spacer in place. Next up is mount the wheel. And I've got these lugs, and I'll show all the part numbers and where I got all this stuff. But this is the 1916 by 18 right-hand thread lug nut. Raise the car up higher. I've got the driver's side done, passenger side yet to do. And we're going to take a look why I'm basically doing this. You can see the clearance there. Here, I'll zoom in. This is the 305 on the front wheel. And like I said, I have camber bolts in, so the top of the wheel and tire gets a little closer to the strut. This is the side that I have not done the extended studs and spacer. Pretty tight clearance there if I want to run a wider tire, which I got coming. And here is the other side right there. A lot of clearance there. Yeah, quite a bit, like another, how about a 3/4 inch clearance. Got 4 of the lug nuts loosely in place, left one off so you can kind of see what is sticking out when you get the wheel on there, and that works nicely with these lug nuts. You can see there's more of a gap now that there was before, 3/4 inch to be exact. And the gap on the wheel brake there, no issues. There is a little bit of overlap on the non-heat treated coated side. But as long as you do some good cool down after, you know, don't come right off the track and park it, all is well. Taking a look at my rear spacers, I now have 1/8 inch rear spacers. I started with a 1/4 inch. The 1/4 inch gave me a little bit of rubbing right here. I saw some black along the edge of the fender lip there during full compression of the suspension at the track. I've done 2 track days now with the 1/4 inch, or the 1/8 inch rather, and no rubbing. And when I ran the Hoosiers at Coda, it rubbed a little bit on the inside. That's what kind of wanted me to move the tires out slightly. But yeah, that was, I was jumping some curbs and running pretty hard, and those Hoosiers are softer, so they were flexing some, and I did rub there, but no other rub marks I noticed, and it was just on the passenger rear. Coda, you run that counterclockwise, so this side back here takes the most stress, as well as the front up there. Going to take a look at the gaps and spacing with the weight on the wheels, car on the ground. Like I said earlier, I'm running a bunch of negative camber in this car, so the tops are going to still be cantered inward, but the bottoms are sticking out, and the wheels, tires are 3/4 of an inch out farther. It looks much better. There's from the front, here's from the back side. Much better, not so sunken in. Just got back from a test drive. All is well, normal. I ran the steering wheel stop to stop, all good there. Drove around for a little while and had some fun. All good, a successful mod. Well, that's it. That's my camber bolt, wheel stud, and wheel spacer video. Hope you guys got something out of that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.